All right, so let's get started. So we stopped at this point. We were discussing about infiltration, and then we spoke about Darcy's law, which basically tells us, which is an empirical law, which tells us how, what are the processes that govern flow in a porous medium. So the flow, basically, this Q that you see over here, which is also called the Darcy flux, right? So this Darcy flux is simply proportional to the head gradient, right? And this head gradient is actually comprised of two components. One of them is the gravity head, or the Z, and the other is the suction head. And in this context, if you guys remember, I spoke about immersing a dry soil sample into water, right? So if you remember, let me just draw that. All right. So if I take some container filled with water and I immerse a perfectly dry soil sample into it, we discussed this last time, right? If I immerse it into this soil sample, the water will rise up in the soil sample to some height. Okay. Now we said that this is because of some kind of capillary action, right? The soil sample is basically comprised of many thousands of millions of small capillaries, and because there is this attraction between the soil particles and the water molecules, it gets sucked up to a certain height. The height to which it gets sucked up depends on the kind of soil sample that we're talking about. If you're talking about something like clay, okay, so what is your expectation? If it is clay, the height to which it gets sucked up, will it be higher or less than if it were sand?
Higher, I think so.
Okay, anybody else? What is your intuition? Will the water level, if I take two samples, one is clay, the other is sand, of the same height or whatever it is, I immerse them in water, in which case do you think the height to which the water rises will be high? So Chakradhar says it's clay.
So clay.
Okay, so Aditya, you also think it will be clay. All right. So yeah, so this is your intuition is right, because clay has more surface area, right? Because there are smaller particles, and so in a given volume, when you have smaller particles, you have more surface area. More surface area, more interaction between the particles, the soil particles, and the water, and so therefore there will be more surface tension. And in fact, for clay, this height might be even in meters. If I take a perfectly dry sample of clay and immerse it in water, the water may rise up meters, whereas for sand it will be centimeters. So just imagine what the difference is. It's centimeter versus meter, so it's almost 100 times more, okay, or tens of times more at least. Okay, and different soil samples, of course, will have different levels of this suction. Okay, and remember that this is happening against gravity, right? So whatever suction force that that the soil particles are exerting, which is able to attract water molecules, this is happening against gravity in this case, right? So this you have to keep in mind when you think about this process. All right. Okay. So and then we derive this equation. I don't know. You're not going to be using this equation at least in this semester, but I just want you to be aware of how we arrived at this equation. So this is the fundamental equation, right? So if you want to actually find out how theta, what is theta? Does anybody remember what theta is?
Moisture content.
Moisture content. If you're interested in finding out how moisture content changes as a function of time in a sample of soil, this is the equation that you'll have to solve. Okay, imagine I have a sample of soil. Okay, so it's experiencing some rain, and you are interested in finding out how this moisture in the soil sample changes as a function of this rainfall that's happening. Then you'll have to solve this equation. It's a very difficult equation to solve, incidentally. Okay, we'll not get into that. Okay, it's not an easy equation to solve. So this is what kind of an equation is this? What kind of an equation is this?
Non-linear
Differential equation.
differential equation.
Okay, you said non-linear and you said it's a differential equation. Okay, so what kind of a differential equation is it?
Partial.
It's a partial differential equation, right? And it's changing in z and in time. Okay, I mean, of course, so, but you don't call it a two-dimensional partial differential equation. It's a one-dimensional partial differential equation, but unsteady. It's an unsteady one-dimensional partial differential equation, relatively difficult to solve. Okay, and if you try to solve it in other dimensions, x and y, it becomes more and more difficult. In fact, it's probably not even possible to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so that's the fundamental process of of how water moves in the soil sample. Okay, but we will try to understand it from a more physical perspective. Okay, so when I talk about infiltration, what typically happens is that, okay, let me, all right, so this curve that you see over here, this is basically moisture content being plotted as a function of depth in a soil sample. Okay, so the x-axis is the moisture content, and the y-axis downwards is the depth below the land surface. Okay, so given a rainfall event, this is how a typical moisture profile will look like in the z direction. Okay, now this moisture profile, it is being divided. So now this division into these 4 different zones is only for understanding. That doesn't mean if you go there, there'll be a line drawn and say, this is the zone of saturation, this is the zone of transition, and so on. Okay, so but these are the 4 broad zones into which typically we are able to characterize the moisture profile in a soil sample. Okay, at the very top is what is called the saturation zone. Now nobody can, I'm sure everybody understands what this means, right? At the very top, you will expect the soil to get completely saturated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So then you have the saturation zone, and then you have what is called the transition zone. Now, this transition zone is something that has come into, the name has come about because there is another zone below it. If there was no zone below it, then you wouldn't call it the transition zone. So this transition zone is not something that you can, when you start describing it, you don't say at the top is a transition zone and then there's, at the top is a saturation zone and then there's a transition zone. There is another zone that happens below it, which is important. And then you realize that between the saturation zone and the transition zone, there is some kind of a transition. So you come up with a name, call it the transition zone. But physically, it doesn't have any, I mean, as such, there's no meaning as such. Okay. So don't think that there is going to be a transition zone. This transition zone, depending on the soil parameters, it may be very thin. Okay, or it may be that transition may happen very quickly. So this zone 2, in some cases, it may be so insignificant that you may not even notice it. Okay, so this is all just for visualizing this process, because it's happening underground. It's invisible to us, but with the help of data, you may be able to understand how exactly this process happens. Okay, so I have the saturation zone, and then there's a transition into what is called the transmission zone. Now this transmission zone has some important characteristics. Okay, so I have the transition zone where this is where typically the downward motion of the moisture, you can actually see it. Okay, the downward motion of the moisture will happen when will the downward motion of the moisture happen? When the moisture content is
Lower.
Lower than
The transmission zone.
no, it has nothing to do with the transition zone. Think about the properties of soil that we mentioned maybe 1 or 2 classes back.
Field capacity.
Field capacity, right? So this transmission zone is where the moisture, it's basically starting to move. Okay, why does it move? Because the soil is not able to hold the moisture content. Why is it not able to hold it? Because the moisture content is greater than field capacity. As long as it is below field capacity, the moisture, the soil is able to hold it against gravity. Okay, but when it goes above field capacity, the soil is unable to hold it, so the moisture moves down, right? So therefore, that is this fundamental idea. This moisture content is greater than field capacity, but it is not fully saturated. Okay, so this is a typical characteristic of this transmission zone, in that the moisture content is greater than field capacity, but it is below saturation. Okay, and then the final zone, which is where the water is which is called the wetting zone, where you can think of it as the moisture advancing down further and further into the soil. Okay, so this wetting zone where the moisture content is typically, it is close to the field capacity. Okay, but as you can see in the wetting zone, the moisture content is not at one uniform value. It keeps changing. It is close to field capacity, but it keeps changing with depth. And of course, when I say it changes with depth, I mean it decreases with depth, right? Because as I go down, the effect of the rainfall is not felt as I go further down in the soil sample. The closer I get to the land surface, the closer I start to feel observe the presence of precipitation at the land surface, right? The farther away you are from the soil, the farther away you are away from the land surface, the less you feel the presence of rainfall, right? So if you go 10 meters down below ground surface, you won't even realize that rainfall is happening. But if you keep moving towards the land surface, you will start observing more and more moisture, and then you can say, hey, I think something is happening at the land surface, which is causing this water to come down, right? So that is this some kind of a physical understanding of this process of infiltration. And right at the edge of this wetting zone is what is called the wetting front. Okay, so now this wetting front is some kind of a discontinuity that happens, which distinguishes the wet soil from the dry soil or the previously existing soil. Okay, all right, so the soil originally will have some kind of moisture content. So this wetting front is basically distinguishing the soil that has become wet because of the precipitation that is happening above, and the existing soil which has got some original moisture content. Okay, I think you can't see the word original moisture. Yeah, but it's there. Sharp discontinuity between newly wet soil and original moisture content. Okay. So any questions on this? It's a physical representation. If you take any typical soil sample and you observe how the moisture changes in that, according to depth in that soil sample, you may get a curve that looks like this. That doesn't mean it will have exactly the same shape. It may have more or less this kind of a shape. This is just for representation. Okay. Yes.
So what is making the saturation zone stay saturated? Like, why is the moisture not dripping down?
Okay, so now here we are assuming that this is while rainfall is happening.
Oh.
Okay, so the rainfall is happening and it's getting, so for example, if the rain just keeps going on and on and on, okay, what will happen to the saturation zone?
Yes, then it will be saturated.
No, what will be saturated?
Like,
let us say,
it's
oh no,
raining.
let us say it has started raining, and after 10 minutes it looks like this. Okay, but the rainfall is not stopping. It just keeps getting more, and the rainfall just continues. After 2 hours, what do you expect the saturation zone to look like? Will it have the same thickness?
No.
The saturation zone will extend into the soil, right? So maybe instead of having the first 5 centimeters being saturated, the first 50 centimeters may become saturated. Right, so that is why it doesn't give any particular depth and all that. I'm not saying saturation zone is typically first 5 centimeters, transition zone is next 10 centimeters. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying in general, if at any point in time you go and look at the moisture profile in response to a rainfall event, this is the kind of shape that you will get. Whether it will be, whether the same shape of profile will exist if I have a continuous rainfall for 5 days, I don't know. What will happen if it, I mean, just hypothetically, just imagine this, if it just keeps raining for 5 days continuously, non-stop, right? So the moisture, there'll be no profile. It'll just be one straight line all the way down to the water table. Assuming the water table is, let's say, 2 meters below the ground surface or 5 meters below the ground surface. And if it just keeps raining, never stops, you will just see the water table will basically reach the land surface. This whatever profile you are seeing is assuming that the water table is below this. If the water table, so for example, if the water table is over here, right, then you don't see this kind of a profile. This profile, this is assuming the water table is below this wetting front. Okay, so this is a typical representation. Okay, what is keeping it saturated is the rainfall that is happening is keeping it saturated. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when can we see such a profile? Like
this is
immediately after rainfall, or?
Yeah. So let just imagine a typical kind of soil just imagine it as some kind of sand mixed with clay and so on. Okay, so if the rain starts, okay, and then maybe if you are actually able to look at a profile of it 10 minutes later, 15, 20, 1 hour later or so on, it may look like this. But as I said, the thickness of the saturation zone, I'm not saying anything about how thick it will be after how long. Depends on the soil, right? If it's sand, then the saturation, okay, maybe we can contrast two different types of soil. If I have sand versus clay, in which case do you think the saturation zone will be thicker?
Clay.
In place, sir.
Clay, okay. Why do you say that?
Because water percolates easily, like it goes to deeper
Easily.
layers of sand.
Where
Sand, in case of sand.
in the case of sand, it okay. So now here's the thing. There's a little bit of it's a little slightly counterintuitive. Okay. I'm going to say that the saturation zone will be thicker in the case of sand than in the case of clay. Okay. Okay. Now, so you're bringing in. See, there are two things. There are two. Okay. I'll take that back. Okay. There are two things that are happening. Okay. What are the two processes that are causing the moisture to move down? We discussed this. We discussed it kind of when I said this hydraulic head is psi plus z. Okay. What do these two terms represent? What does z represent?
Gravity head.
Gravity. What does psi represent?
Suction head.
Pressure
Suction head,
and
right?
suction.
So when I take two different soil samples, one has greater potential for suction, the other has less potential for suction. Okay, agreed? So if I take soil, for example, soil has a greater ability to suck the water, but the sand has a much greater ability to just transmit the water through it, because this gravity head takes over in the case of sand. Okay. So then,
Sir,
yes.
Sir, but the gravity acting on the water droplets would be same with sand and clay, no? I mean,
The point is this. The point is this. Whenever this suction is able to overcome the gravity, that's what you saw when you're looking at a dry soil sample immersed in a water. There, the water was going against gravity in the upward direction. Here, I have gravity and suction happening simultaneously. And one more thing that you also have to think about is that the in the case of sand, the sand is going to allow it to pass through much faster. Okay, so you all know this hydraulic conductivity. You've heard about this in your soil mechanics class, right? Which one has a greater whether soil or clay, which one has a higher hydraulic conductivity or permeability, whatever you called it?
sand.
Sand has a greater permeability. What does that mean?
It allows water to pass through it easily.
It allows water to pass through it very easily. Okay, so we are talking about two different processes. One is the suction based infiltration, and the other is the gravity based infiltration. Okay, so here what happens is that if I have two different kinds of soil samples, actually I'll hesitate to say what exactly will happen in terms of the thickness of the saturation zone. That is not actually the point to stress on. Okay, what I would say is, in the case of, okay, now think about it from the other direction. In which soil sample will you start seeing runoff happen first? Sand or clay?
Clay.
Clay. Which means what?
No infiltration.
Which means less infiltration is happening.
Infiltration.
Right? So you see, so in fact, it's a difficult question to answer actually. Now I realize it. Okay. So when I have sand just keeps sucking the water in. It doesn't allow runoff to happen. The clay, on the other hand, gets saturated at the top. Okay. But it's not allowing the water to go in. The water starts to, accumulate at the surface, and runoff starts to happen. Okay, so clay is actually it's a difficult material to understand very well. At least in this particular example, it's difficult to understand exactly how the clay will behave. And even I don't have a very intuitive understanding of. I'm not able to explain it intuitively. If I look, intuition sometimes can take you in the wrong direction. Okay, so on the one hand, when I take a dry sample of soil, clay and sand, the clay absorbs water to a great extent against gravity. That's the point here. Okay, but here when you're talking about infiltration, it is happening with gravity. Okay, so sand has both suction working for it and gravity working for it. But clay, on the other hand, would rather like the water to just be with itself. It's not going to allow gravity to take over in that case. So therefore the water starts getting stuck in the saturation zone, or it doesn't, the saturation zone doesn't allow water to go further below it. Okay, so there runoff starts to happen, and therefore less infiltration is happening. So it's a tricky question. Okay, I don't have an answer for it actually. Okay, although I asked it myself, I don't know the answer to it. But maybe you can think about it in the other direction. Think about it from the perspective of runoff, and that tells you what is happening with the infiltration. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we'll keep going. So now we'll talk about, so indirectly we are leading towards this whole idea of infiltration capacity. Okay, now this, as you can easily understand, when I say capacity, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
How much it can infiltrate.
Yeah, when I was in hostel, we used to have competitions. How many puris can you eat at most? And somebody had the record 35. That was their capacity, right? So that's the same thing. So infiltration capacity is basically the maximum rate at which a given soil can absorb water, right? So this again differs from one soil to the other. Okay, so usually what we do is we designate this infiltration capacity using this symbol small f suffix p. Okay, and then of course we use centimeter per hour to usually measure these numbers. Sometimes centimeters per second are also used. Okay, but centimeter per hour is more apt, because soils typically will have a number that is in centimeters per hour. Okay, 1 centimeter per hour, for example, and so on. Okay, all right. So the actual rate of infiltration, now think about this. This is the maximum rate at which the soil can absorb water. This infiltration capacity that I'm talking about is the maximum rate. But the actual rate depends on what?
The type of soil.
No. So the type of soil is given, right? So if I have how do I say? If I have a soil that has the ability to absorb water, or its infiltration capacity, let's say, is 2 centimeters per hour. But the actual rate at which,
Amount of rainfall.
say that again?
Amount of rainfall.
Amount of rainfall. So when you say amount of rainfall, I think you mean intensity of rainfall.
Yes, sir.
Right? So if I have a soil that has the capacity to absorb rainfall or infiltrate rainfall at 2 centimeters per hour, but I only get rainfall of 1 centimeter per hour, what happens? My soil can only absorb it at the rate at which it is being provided. It can't accept it at 2 centimeters per hour if the rainfall is only happening at 1 centimeter per hour. Right? So that's what it is. So F, the actual rate of infiltration, is equal to Fp, or in other words, suppose I have 2 centimeters per hour and I'm getting rainfall of 4 centimeter per hour. Right? So you understand what I'm saying? If my soil has an ability to infiltration capacity of 2 centimeters per hour, and I'm receiving rainfall at 4 centimeters per hour, what will be my soil's actual infiltration rate? The actual infiltration rate will be the infiltration capacity itself. But if my rainfall, so the small I is intensity of rainfall, right? If intensity of rainfall is greater than or equal to my infiltration capacity, then I'll have infiltration happening at infiltration capacity. But if my intensity of rainfall is less than my infiltration capacity, then my infiltration actual rate will be equal to my intensity of rainfall. Okay. I think my animations got a little messed up over here. So I'm supposed to show this last question is going to come up at the very end. Okay. You understand what I'm talking about? This is fairly straightforward, right? This actual rate of infiltration depends on what happens with the rainfall. If my rainfall is happening at a rate that is greater than my infiltration capacity, then my actual rate of infiltration will only be whatever is my infiltration capacity. Okay. But if rainfall is happening at a rate that is lower than my infiltration capacity, then the actual rate of infiltration will simply be the rainfall rate or the intensity of rainfall. So intensity of rainfall, again, remember it is, we talk about it in centimeters per hour or maybe millimeters per hour and so on. Okay. Is that okay? Any questions on that? All right. Okay. So now this infiltration rate F itself, is it a function of time, assuming constant rainfall intensity? That's the question that I'm posing. Can anybody think about this? Will the infiltration rate vary as a function of time? Assuming that my rainfall intensity is constant throughout this time. Imagine, okay, so let me ask a question. Let us say I have rainfall of 2 centimeters per hour happening continuously for the last 2 hours. Will the infiltration rate of will the infiltration rate that my soil exhibits, will it change or will it just remain the same throughout the rainfall event?
So it'll change.
Okay, why will it change?
As the saturation increases inside a soil, it'll certainly change now because
No, slow down. As the saturation increases,
the infiltration will decrease.
as the saturation increases, the infiltration will decrease. Does everybody agree with that? Physically, do you understand what that means? Right. So
Yes, sir.
So if I have a soil sample which has previously not been exposed to any rainfall, and then it starts to experience rainfall at the rate of 2 centimeters per hour, for example. Okay. Then initially, let's say the soil's capacity is 2 centimeters per hour. It keeps taking in the water. Okay. But as time goes on, the soil becomes more and more saturated and it's not able to take in as much. Right? I mean, you can think about, there's so many physical examples that you can think about, right? The rate at which if you're running at full speed, for example, okay, can you just keep running at full speed forever? You can't. You can't run at full speed continuously. So therefore, you try to, if you're running a race, for instance, so as the race goes on, your capacity to run at full speed keeps reducing. The longer you've been running, the less you can run at full speed, right? So your speed keeps coming down as the race goes on and so on. Okay, so of course, human beings are different. We can, of course, train and all that, but let's not bring that in. Okay, so this infiltration rate is actually a function of time. Okay, so this instantaneous infiltration rate at any given time, okay, what will it depend on? It will depend on the kind of vegetation that's available on the soil properties itself, and the current moisture content. At any given time, if I want to know what the instantaneous infiltration rate is, it depends on what kind of vegetation is there, what the properties of the soil are, and what the current moisture content is. So this current moisture content at any given time depends on what has happened in the past, right? Did I receive rainfall in the past? That determines what my current moisture content is. And if my current moisture content is something, let us say my current moisture content is equal to my porosity, which means all my voids are completely filled, my infiltration rate will become very low, right? Whereas if my current moisture content is 0, I'm a perfectly dry soil sample, I'll be able to infiltrate at a much faster rate, right? Okay, so that is this idea of instantaneous infiltration, F as a function of time. Okay. Now the other parameter that I'm interested in is the cumulative infiltration, right? Over a certain amount of time, how much water have I infiltrated in total? Okay. So let us say I receive 5 centimeters of rain in 1 hour. Okay. In that 1 hour, how much of that rain has become infiltration? This might be something that I'm interested in. Okay, so that is what I call cumulative infiltration. So now this cumulative infiltration, we typically denote it with the letter capital F, and that is also a function of time, right? Cumulative infiltration at time t equal to 0 will be, when rainfall has not yet started, cumulative infiltration will be
0.
0, right? Everybody knows that. Although my instantaneous infiltration rate at time t equal to 0, you can estimate, right? At time t equal to 0, if I take a perfectly dry soil sample, what will my Ft be at time t equal to 0? If I have a perfectly dry soil sample, what will be my infiltration rate at t equal to 0? What will it be? Come on.
FP.
Fp, right? That's my infiltration capacity, right? So that is my maximum infiltration rate. So at time t equal to 0, small ft will be some number, but capital Ft will be 0 because rainfall has not started. Right? So that's the difference between this instantaneous infiltration rate and cumulative infiltration. Both of these are functions of time, but one at time t equal to 0, one is 0, the other one has some number, assuming you know the moisture content of the soil. Okay, so in general, how will you find out capital Ft? In general, how will you find out capital Ft?
We'll take the infiltration at constant periods of time.
No, I didn't understand that. What do you mean constant periods of time?
I mean, like after 1 hour each, or after certain amount of time.
No, that's fine. So let us say I take 1 hour. Okay, from 0 to 1 hour, the small f is changing continuously. Correct?
Yes.
The small f is changing continuously. When the rain starts, it is maybe infiltrating at infiltration capacity. 10 minutes later, the soil at the surface has become saturated. So small f at 10 minutes has become something else. It is no longer infiltration capacity. 20 minutes later, it has become even further smaller. 30 minutes later, it has become further smaller, and so on. So how will we estimate capital Ft?
We'll have to integrate over that entire hour.
Everybody knows this, right? So this capital F is the total accumulated depth of infiltrated water during a given time period, and this is how we represent it. Capital Ft is simply integral 0 to t, small f. Of course, we have a dummy variable tau over here, f tau d tau. Okay, tau goes from 0 to small t. Okay, so that's a simple illustration. Or in other words, if I'm interested in the infiltration rate at a given time, then I simply differentiate my cumulative infiltration at that time. Okay. All right. So you can just think of it one way or the other. It's just the same thing. Okay. Is that okay? Are these two equations, are you okay with that? Capital F of t is simply integral small f tau d tau. And in other words, I'm writing f of t is capital D f t by dt, right? There's no problem with that, right? It's fairly straightforward. Okay. So now this is in terms of understanding the process of infiltration. Now, in the literature, if you go and try to understand this infiltration process, there are many different equations that are available to estimate infiltration. Okay. And so the two popular ones are Horton's equation and Phillips equation. Okay, so we'll very quickly go through that. So this Horton's equation simply looks like this. Okay, f of t equal to fc plus f naught minus fc e to the power minus kt. Okay, so now can somebody tell me what FC and F naught are and how this curve will look like? Okay, if anybody wants to attempt this, I'll allow you to draw on screen. Does anybody want to attempt it? Just by looking at this expression, can you understand what FC and F naught are and what the curve will look like? Does anybody want to attempt?
Sir, F naught will be the initial.
No, you want to draw it on screen?
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can draw on the screen now. So let me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 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 Good. So which one is FC? Which one is FC?
FC would depend on time, right?
No. But this curve that you have drawn, no, FC is not a function of time. Look at that equation. So you have correctly drawn it at t equal to 0. E power minus 0, e power 0 is 1. So it will be FC plus F naught minus FC. So F naught. Think of the other limit. One limit is t equal to 0. The other limit is t tends to, and t becomes large. What happens to e power minus kt?
Zero.
Saturation limit.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So that's FC. FC is your, FC is the line to which this curve is asymptotically tending to. Okay. So okay, you've drawn it a little bit. Of course, I know you don't have control over the mouse and all that. That's okay. So let me just erase this. Oh, can you erase it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I'll show you the curve. And this is what it looks like, right? So F naught is the point at which the curve starts. Okay, you can think of it. Of course, I'm specifically not saying that is equal to FP. Okay, because we don't know what the soil condition is at time t equal to 0, right? That F naught will be equal to FP only if the soil is perfectly dry and it has maximum infiltration capacity. We don't know that. Okay, so it may, in certain cases, that F naught itself might be equal to FP, but in this equation, we just call it F naught. Okay, so it starts at F naught and tends towards FC, which is the dotted line that you see over here. This dotted line is FC. As time goes on, the curve starts at F naught and just slowly asymptotically tends towards this FC. So this curve is your small f as a function of time. Capital F as a function of time, right? How do you obtain this curve? It's simply the area under the curve at every instant in time. Area under small f at every instant in time is your capital F. And the capital F also becomes asymptotic. Okay, so this is a very famous Horton's equation. Similarly, we have one more equation. Now this equation is actually, it arises out of this, what is that? Richard's equation that we looked at previously, but I will not get into that. Okay, one more popular equation that's used is the Phillips equation. Now this Phillips equation looks something like this. Instead of looking at small ft, Phillips equation is basically capital Ft. So it says capital Ft equal to S t power half plus kt. That is given as the equation for the cumulative infiltration as a function of time. And these two parameters that are given are capital S and capital K. Capital S is the also called the sorptivity, or it's a function of the soil suction head. Okay, plus KT. K of course is the hydraulic conductivity or the permeability. Some people call it permeability. Okay, so now, so as you can see, this equation is very interesting, right? It is indirectly saying that this total infiltration, cumulative infiltration, capital F, is a function of suction and gravity, right? So these two terms that you see over here, st power half and plus kt, these two terms represent the two physical processes. The first term st power half is representing the physical process of soil suction, okay, and this kt is representing the process of gravity based infiltration, right? So this is it's a very interesting way of writing the same equation. You acknowledge that infiltration happens because of these two processes, and you come up with an equation which explicitly takes care of these two processes. First term takes care of suction, second term takes care of gravity. Okay. Now what will happen if I, what is small ft? Small ft is, so for the same equation, what is small ft?
Derivative.
Derivative of this, what will the derivative of this be? Half st
One.
power minus half plus k, right? Half into capital S t power minus half plus k. Okay, so now this Phillips equation actually allows us to understand this in a kind of intuitive way. Okay, so imagine as t tends to infinity, what happens to ft? As t becomes larger, ft will tend to k, right? Because this t power minus half will tend to 0. It is t power minus half is 1 by square root of t. So as t becomes larger, 1 by a large number. 1 by a large number starts to tend to 0. So this first term disappears, right? So as time goes on, infiltration happens because of only gravity. Suction is no longer playing a role in infiltration. Suction head is only in the initial portion, initial time where, okay, so can you physically understand what this means? Only when the rain initially starts does suction play a role. As time goes on, because once the soil gets saturated, there's no scope for suction, right? Because if all the surfaces of the soil are in contact with water, whatever electrostatic forces and all were there, they're all been balanced, they're all gone now. So the soil is now in kind of all the the negative, positive charges, whatever they may be, they're all satisfied. There is no more scope for suction, right? So after a long time, of course, that depends again on the type of soil. As teeth becomes large, the infiltration simply depends on the soil's ability, the hydraulic permeability. Okay. So that's the kind of physical understanding that you can develop for this particular, using this particular equation, right? So these two terms represent the effects of soil suction and gravity. Okay. Now what we're going to try and do is we'll solve one quick example problem. Oh yeah, so this is another point. Yeah, for a horizontal soil column, soil suction is the only force, correct? In this equation, if the column is horizontal, then the only force that is acting, which is causing infiltration, is soil suction alone, right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these two see, because this equation is kind of physically based, it makes your it makes it very possible to understand it from from a physical perspective. Okay, we'll try to solve a quick example problem now, and then that will allow you to understand this whole process. Okay, yeah, for a horizontal soil column, ft is simply st power half. Okay, because gravity is not playing any role, because the column is, sorry, the soil column is horizontal. Okay, all right, so let's get to the equation. Let's get to the problem. A small tube with a cross-sectional area of 40 centimeters square is filled with soil and laid horizontally. The open end of the tube is saturated, and after 15 minutes 100 centimeter cube of water have infiltrated into the tube. Okay, if the saturated hydraulic conductivity of the soil is 0.4 centimeters per hour, determine how much infiltration would have taken place in 30 minutes if the soil column had initially been placed upright with its upper surface saturated. Okay, understand the problem? So first imagine, first visualize what is happening. Okay, I have a small tube with a cross-sectional area of 40 centimeters square. Okay, just imagine this. This area is given to you, 40 centimeter square, and it's laid horizontally. The open end of the tube is saturated. So let us say this portion is exposed to water. Okay, so this becomes saturated. Okay, after 15 minutes, 100 centimeters cube of water have infiltrated into the tube. Okay, so it has infiltrated into the tube to some point. Okay, we don't know what this length is, but we know that the volume of water that has gone in is 100 centimeter cube. Okay, after 15 minutes. All right. So with this first piece of information, can we solve something here?
Length is 2.5 centimeter.
What is that?
The length till which water reaches is 2.5 centimeters.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if 100 centimeter cube of water has gone into this 40 centimeter square area, then it must have gone to a distance of 2.5 centimeters. Not a distance of 2.5 centimeters. The amount of water infiltrated is 2.5 centimeters. 2.5 centimeters worth of 2.5 centimeters depth of water is infiltrated, correct? Right? The cross-sectional area is 40 centimeters square. 100 centimeter cube of water has gone in. So it will be 2.5 centimeters of water has infiltrated, correct?
Sir,
Yes.
should like because it's laid horizontally, shouldn't like, is it necessary that the water will reach to the top before moving forward?
What do you mean top? What is top?
Like we're filling it up to the brim and then moving forward, right?
No, which brim? It's a tube. Okay, just imagine a tube. Maybe
Yes.
what is that?
I mean, like we're going towards the right, right?
Yeah. So imagine this tube is completely filled with this soil. Okay, and on one
Right.
end, I'm saturating the. Just imagine that it is connected to a glass of water, for example. Okay.
Okay.
15 minutes later, you see that in that glass of water, the volume of water has decreased by 100 centimeter cube.
Right. Okay.
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 And so, which means that the the infiltration has happened over an area of 40 centimeters square, right? And the volume of water that has gone is 100 centimeter cube. So in other words, the cumulative infiltration is 2.5 centimeters. Is that right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So now what can we do? Now we have this information. What is this? Capital F. Okay, capital F is equal to 2.5 centimeters. Now can we do something with this? Do we have enough information to try to attempt to find out something from this information that we have? I'll just go back to the previous slide. Look at this equation. For a horizontal soil column, the only force that is acting is what is the only force? It's written there. Come on, soil suction.
Suction force.
Right. So now if I know that, so let's come back to the problem. Oops, sorry. So if I know that 2.5 centimeters worth of infiltration has happened, and I know it has only happened, so F equal to, what is that? S T power half plus KT, right? And I'm saying that since the soil sample has been laid horizontally, this KT contribution goes away. It's not contributing anything. The only force that is acting is the soil suction force, which is causing the water to move into the soil sample, right? So F equal to S T power half, because KT is gone to 0. We know the time, right? 15 minutes or whatever is mentioned in the problem. So can we not find out what this capital S is? Right? So we'll write it simply like this: 2.5 centimeters equal to S into, T per half. T is, we'll convert it to, from minutes we can convert it to hours, right? So 15 minutes is 0.25 hours, correct? 1/4 of an hour to the power half. Now we can simply solve for S, right? Please solve for S.
0.645.
Careful, my dear.
0.01.
No. Sorry.
0.01 centimeter per hour.
Anjana, look at 0.25 power half.
6.
Sir, it's 0.15 to the.
No,
Yes,
it's
it's
0.15. No, it's 15 minutes. I've converted to
Oh,
hours.
okay.
Okay,
oh,
I've just
right.
converted.
So it's 6.
Everybody's in a hurry. You've forgotten how to
Five.
take a square
Sir,
root,
it's
huh?
5. It's 5
5.
Units.
centimeter per hour.
No, centimeter per.
Hour.
No, it's not hour. Look at this, per half.
Yes, sir. Per half.
Per hour to the power or
Half.
centimeter
Hour
power
per minus half.
hour per minus half. Okay, so that is the sorptivity. Okay, so sorptivity doesn't have the same units as K or hydraulic conductivity or permeability, right? Permeability has units of length per time. This one has length per time to the power half. Length per time to the power half, or length into time per minus half. All right, so we've got S now. So now let's look at the second part of the question. If the saturated hydraulic conductivity of the soil, which means this K, is 0.4 centimeters per hour, determine how much infiltration would have taken place in 30 minutes if the soil column had initially been placed upright with its upper surface saturated. Okay. So you see the words, it's very carefully written, right? If the saturated hydraulic conductivity, if the K is 0.4 centimeters per hour, determine how much infiltration would have taken place in 50 minutes if the soil column had initially been placed upright with its upper surface saturated. Right? So then instead of placing the surface like this, if I place it like this, right? And the upper surface is saturated. So now both suction and gravity are going to play a role, right? So the question is, simply apply whatever you know right now. It's the same soil sample. So this sorptivity, which is a function of the soil, does not change. S you've just solved for 5 centimeter per hour to the power half. T is 30 minutes. K is given in the problem, 0.4 centimeters per hour. So you can just simply put all those numbers in and you will get F, which will be what? Can anybody quickly solve it? T is 0.5. It's 30 minutes. So we'll have to convert it to hours. So it's half an hour, 0.5. 5 into 0.5 to the power half plus 0.4 into 0.5, something like that. What do you get?
3.74
0.74.
centimeters.
Okay, 3.74 centimeters. Okay, 3.74. All right. So naturally, when you place it horizontally, when only one force was acting, and of course we've doubled the time also, but yeah, but you can also solve it for 15 minutes and see what happens. What do you expect? If you do it for 15 minutes also, you will expect more infiltration to happen, right? Because now two processes are happening. One is suction and the other is gravity. Both of them together are causing infiltration to happen. In the first case, only suction was causing the infiltration to happen. In the second case, both suction and infiltration are causing it to happen, and you're doing it for double the duration. So naturally, from 2.5 centimeters, it's become 3.74 centimeters. Okay. Oh, we've gone over time. I'm sorry. Okay, so we will continue on Thursday. Looks like nobody is willing to present this afternoon in our scheduled lecture the project. If you're ready, can you just say yes now? Anybody's ready? Okay, that's fine. So then we'll have to present it on Thursday. We'll try to do it as quickly as we can on Thursday. All right. Thank you very much. Meet you guys on Thursday. Of course, this afternoon there may be a surprise quiz. I don't know. All right. Thank you very much. Bye.